Ambassador Sujan Chinoy, the T20 lead, Dr. Samir Saran, head of the ORF and also the T20 Secretariat, members of T20 group and all the organizations which are connected with T20, all my seniors present here, distinguished invitees from G20 and other countries, friends, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I would like to extend my heartiest congratulations and recognize the exemplary work done by India's T20 team to mobilize quickly, finalize the T20 agenda, and develop the T20 calendar along with the necessary background paperwork, launch the website and the social media handles within a span of less than 3 months. The T20 work has been, and the transition has been seamless. It appears as if India's T20 team has been at it for a long time, and many of us would not know that the amount of hard work that has been put in is really phenomenal. While applauding the new T20 members for their dynamism, I also want to acknowledge the stellar role of the long-serving T20 members who have given the necessary knowledge support and ensured that T20 becomes fully active on day one. So I would, in the very beginning, want to give a big hand to T20 team. Colleagues, India's G20 presidency comes at a time when the world faces multiple challenges ranging from climate change and lack of progress in SDGs to economic slowdown, debt distress, uneven pandemic recovery, food and energy insecurity, and geopolitical conflicts. Yet in every challenge lies an opportunity. The world is looking at G20 as a ray of hope in providing fresh perspectives and durable solutions to global problems. As Prime Minister Modi said at the Bali summit, we would like our G20 presidency to be inclusive, ambitious, action-oriented, and decisive. Our G20 logo and theme reflect this thought, with the Earth representing India's pro-planet approach and the lotus representing growth amid challenges. The theme Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one Earth, one family, one future, drawn from the Maha Upanishad, reflects our intent to carry all countries with us and leave no one behind. The theme also brings out the value of all life, human, animal, plant, microorganisms, and their interconnectedness. As the fastest growing economy, large economy in the world, in a largely gloomy global economic scenario, India carries the requisite weight and ability to seek and garner support for quality outcomes in the G20. Yet, the G20 can work only by consensus, and we have often seen G20 respond better to immediate concerns rather than long-term strategic challenges. In this context, India as a G7 partner, BRICS and Quad member, SCO and G20 presidency, and a voice of the Global South, having presided over the Security Council last month, hopes to serve as a trusted and effective bridge for developing countries and advanced economies. Our G20 presidency is our most high-profile international endeavor ever. It is also for the first time that 4 developing countries, Indonesia, India, Brazil, and South Africa, would be presiding over the G20 in a row. In addition to regular G20 participants, we have invited 9 guest countries: Bangladesh, Egypt, Mauritius, Netherlands, Nigeria, Oman, Singapore, Spain, and UAE, and 14 international organizations, including 2 based in New Delhi, the ISA and the CDRI, for the G20 summit and presidency meetings. The summit in New Delhi will have the largest ever participation in any presidency so far, including from Africa with 6 invitees: South Africa, the AU chair, Comoros, Nepal, Rwanda, Egypt, Mauritius, and Nigeria. In the run-up to this summit, India will host foreign delegates for around 200 meetings in about 56 cities in India. I would add that it is not probably for India, not only about the G20 presidency, but going forward as a preparation for India at 100, setting the tone for the next 25 years for Amrit Kal, and trying to bring in our narrative, our thoughts, our experiences for global good over the next quarter century. Let me now briefly elaborate some of the key conversations that we are prioritizing in our G20 presidency. First, green development, climate finance, and lifestyle for environment. Climate action and progress on SDGs are two sides of the same coin. Mobilization of timely and adequate resources for climate finance, including exploring innovative financing, is important to meet climate challenges. There is a need to set a new collective quantified goal from a floor of $100 billion per year, taking into account the needs and priorities of developing countries. Green and green transition finance, credit enhancement by multilateral development banks through enhancing and expanding their mandate, as well as innovative instruments such as blended finance, viability gap funding, and interest equalization, are the need of the hour. Public finance should be used more to leverage the vastly higher amounts of private finance available in the market. The key thought here is we must recognize that green transition and economic development should can go only hand in hand. One cannot pursue green transition without economic development, and one cannot pursue economic development in a non-green manner. So if we have to achieve growth in today's contemporary context, then it has to be green. And if we have to go green, we cannot do so without development, which is where Honorable External Affairs Minister yesterday also spoke about a green development pact, if I may, so that this basic pillar of thought is recognized and serves as the cornerstone of global economic progress. At the same time, with growing globalization and easier access to resources, circular economy and responsible consumption have acquired greater significance. The principles of lifestyle for environment can be adopted around the world to ensure sustained growth and minimal waste production. From nudging individual and community behavior and responsible consumption and production to sustainable urbanization and circular economy as a business model, a global pro-planet lifestyle movement holds the key to addressing effectively the multiple challenges of climate change, environment degradation, energy crisis, and rapid sustainable growth. In this context, it is welcome news that T20 India has taken up Mission Life as a priority to promote the values for well-being, sustainable consumption, and production. Looking ahead, as perhaps the only large economy with the potential to industrialize without carbonizing, efficiently utilizing large-scale renewable energy, as well as fuels such as green hydrogen, coupled with green ammonia and green shipping, supplemented by technological collaborations and resilient critical material supplies, we aim to set a template for realizing net zero ambitions. And let me elaborate a little bit on this thought. That we have at this stage several countries, in fact most countries have announced their net zero targets, but we cannot do so in a isolated national setting only. It's important to work towards a achievable, realistic, global net zero plan, taking into account various national perspectives, giving policy space, while also moving forward towards a global net zero target. And to do so, it's very important to provide for energy solutions which can address a number of needs of the growing economies, particularly countries like India, those in Africa, and find sustainable solutions for achieving global net zero. So I think we need to scale up our thinking as G20 and work towards sustainable, achievable transitions, utilizing all those resources that we have at our hands, be it energy, be it critical minerals, be it technological collaborations, be it financing, so that we can think strategically and work towards a global net zero in a coordinated and cooperative fashion. The next priority would be accelerated, inclusive, and resilient growth. Challenges faced by our planet can only be addressed with collective resolve, followed by robust action that furthers sustainable growth for all stakeholders. From accelerating progress on SDGs, focus on blue economy and trade for growth, to global food security, our endeavor is to ensure G20 serves the long-term interests of all and leaves no one behind. Often, as I said in the beginning, the immediate takes precedence over the longer-term objectives, and in this context, the global debt challenge is going to be perhaps the most pressing immediate concern to which we will have to address either through the common framework and bringing greater commitment and finding ways to cooperate on how to handle the global debt challenge. One of the achievements of G20 was the DSSI in the Saudi presidency, and we will need to work harder to find coordinated framework to address the global debt challenge. On the SDGs, we are at the crucial midpoint of the 2030 agenda, which was adopted in 2015, with cascading and multiple crises threatening a dramatic reversal of progress on achievement of SDGs. The SDG financing gap has been widening, owing to unfavorable macroeconomic conditions, including record inflation and increasing debt burdens. In many ways, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals has got derailed and is in dire need of rescue. In this context, a robust action plan for achieving SDGs halfway on the road to Agenda 2030 is our important priority. Third, technological transformation and digital public infrastructure. Developing and harnessing the digital infrastructure will, among other things, define the coming decade. Its use in furthering SDGs and providing easy access to digital payment methods while ensuring data privacy will be crucial and relevant to ensure a worldwide digital transformation. Digital public infrastructure and platforms, digital health and tech-enabled digital solutions for development from agriculture to education will be key to harnessing the power of the digital economy to boost growth and development. We believe that digital power has not yet been adequately utilized for global public good, which is why India is focusing so much on digital public infrastructure. We have different models applied across the world. We have in many countries the big tech dominating, in some others the public digital infrastructure being developed. But what we have seen in India is the real power of the digital. As my Sherpa often says, we have achieved in India in 6 or 7 years what it would have taken 50 years to do. if the power of the digital economy was not leveraged and fully utilized. So we think that we have a story to share here, which is for a global public good, to bring about financial inclusion. 1.7 billion people in the world are currently financially excluded. And we have seen that financial inclusion has given a boost to Indian economic growth. So the scale and the size of the digital public infrastructure in India could be a template of sorts, with, of course, with national considerations and modifications, which can be used effectively across the world. In particular, therefore, we plan to create a common framework for DPI, for digital public infrastructure, that outlines the core principles for building DPIs: interoperability, scalability, open source platforms, open API, open standards, and privacy based on digital identity system, digital payment system, and intra-country consent-based data sharing system. Fourthly, multilateral institutions for the 21st century. The world urgently needs reformed and effective multilateral institutions to build resilience and deliver solutions for the pressing and evolving challenges of our time, including developmental challenges, poverty, climate change, disaster risk, pandemics, global food security, international conflicts and crises, and terrorism. Adapting to the contemporary world realities necessarily require urgent and comprehensive reform of 21st century institutions to make them more inclusive, representative, and democratic, and to reorient them towards an inclusive, just, and equitable global developmental agenda. The next priority is women-led development. And here, while several other speakers probably before me would have highlighted it, I would add that women as entrepreneurs, as members of the workforce, and as leaders play a critical role in charting the path to prosperity of all societies. Development led by women, by going beyond women's empowerment and bringing women to the core of economic and professional activities, can provide a real impetus to social economic development. Not only should women be empowered more, they should play a strong, equal, and central role in every nation's overall growth. Development can be speedier, more inclusive, and more beneficial when women not only participate, but lead capacity-building institutions. When women engage with equal access, capacity, and agency to take decisions, it improves not only their lives, but the lives of their families, communities, and entire societies. Friends, India's G20 presidency has started off quite well. The first Sherpa meeting in Udaipur and the first Finance and Central Bank Deputies meeting in Bengaluru, held last month, helped prepare an inclusive agenda for collective action and outcome-oriented discussions in the G20 for both the Sherpa and the finance tracks. We are also working to provide visiting delegates with a unique Indian experience, showcasing India's diversity, inclusive traditions, cultural richness, and India's strong democratic roots. As Honorable Prime Minister has said, India chairing the G20 presidency is a reflection of the strength of 130 crore Indians. We are therefore taking the G20 to the people. We are making it a Jan Bhagidari, or a people's G20. We are involving the private sector, universities, civil societies, and youth in practical activities and bringing out their fresh perspectives on global issues. To sum up, India's G20 presidency is looking to steer G20's action towards finding tangible solutions to contemporary global challenges, inspired by an inclusive and human-centric approach, aided by effective use of technology, and driven by the need for sustainable development for all. If I could try to very briefly put the key underpinnings of our presidency, I would say it is sharing our story, caring for all, and taking collective action. In conclusion, I would like to once again thank and congratulate the T20 team for conducting such a well-attended and successful Inception conference. And I wish them all the very best for their future meetings and deliberations. Thank you.